We are live, guys. Welcome to Reset Live.
Cool.
Round two.
Round two. We
Take
tried
two.
this a few seconds ago, and there was a bug in the matrix, and it didn't go live. So we're here now.
All right, so let's jump back into it. So
You're gonna have to speak up, John. You're quiet.
How was your weekend?
My
It was
weekend was-
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Chris, you've got
Okay.
some big news.
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah, what
Chris?
is it?
All right. So yesterday marks the first full week of my officially being a dad.
Well, woo, yeah.
Sorry for the
I'm
lack of
having a-
passion, guys. We did this.
I need
We
to confirm.
we were really into it the last time.
Just fell flat.
That's funny.
So yeah, that's been an experience in and of itself. Like, it's been really reflective. It's been really deep. Just thinking about how this little person that depends on me and Ren for everything. And by the way, he's the most chill baby I've ever been around. Like he barely ever cries. I somehow have this knack of consoling him when he does. And he sleeps like a rock. It's great. But how this little,
Like a rock or the
Like-
rock?
definitely
sleep
a
like The
rock,
Rock?
because I don't want him to sleep like the Rock at all. But no, it's remarkable, just to see how there's this little person, and then thinking about who this human might evolve into and become. It's just an incredible experience over this past week.
Yeah, so you guys did a home birth
We did.
with, water and midwives and doulas and all that kind of stuff. So
All the stuff. Yeah.
yeah, you were sharing it on Facebook. I thought it was pretty amazing.
The home birth was not televised.
Well, yeah, but there's some
No
stuff you
disclosure.
guys decided to do. So what was that like?
Wow. I can't find words, and I can't find words because it seemed on the one hand, it seemed so natural. It seemed like this is how it should be done, not in a hospital full of fluorescent lights and a bunch of doctors sticking things inside of you. And on the other hand, it was surreal that it was happening in my living room, and then 3 days later, the living room was put back together, and we were just sitting there watching a movie. Like, so
Yeah. That's wild.
yeah, it's just crazy. I was just like, oh, there was a pool here, and we were having a baby right here. It was a lot less dramatic than you might think. There wasn't a whole lot of screaming. There wasn't a whole lot of loud anything. The midwives, shout out to River Valley Midwives in Northampton, Mass. They were very, very like,
Devin is on one today.
he's on something. They were really good at just coaching us through the process, telling us what was going on, where the baby's head was, what was happening with the baby. And the dude, we saw the tip of his head. He started to crown, and then he was out like faster than they said anybody that they've ever seen. And he came out with one hand on his face like this. So when he came out, his arm extended like a superhero. It was hilarious. But it all happened so fast. We were going to get it on camera, and we didn't even have time to press the button.
Wow.
It was all set up. We just had to press the button, and it just like, oh, I think one more push. No, and he was there. So
Holy crap.
it's crazy.
That's cool, man. Just so you guys know, we were there the day before that happened. I'm so glad it didn't happen on the day that we were there.
Yeah.
Well, Ren
Yeah.
says, I made some chili that day, and Ren says it's the chili that put her into labor.
Yeah, that was the chili.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Oh, I-
Is that talking good for your chili?
My interpretation of that depends on the day.
That's fair.
Oh man! So how was your week, Devin? What were you up to? I know it was your mom's birthday, so shout out to Gail. Say hey to her.
Yeah. It was just awesome because the sun came out and it was like 80 degrees out, and did a ton of like yard work and raking. We have this giant garden in the backyard, and the sticks and everything like that the last season were off the chain. So after like probably 5 hours of gardening, it's like a fourth done. But it looks really good, and it's nice to be outside and like reconnect with the earth and, have your shoes off and just like, get grounding, which is awesome. So I got a little more energy than I have had for a long time because of the weather, which is nice.
Yeah. What about you, PJ?
Yeah, well, as you guys know, I live with Devin, so it was a similar experience this week. Got outside a lot, did some yard work Monday. I think it was Monday, right? Just absolutely beautiful. So that was great, and I'm just excited for this discussion today on community building and what makes a community successful. I think we already had a great conversation that preceded this in the Rethink Everything group, and I hope that continues. We get a lot of interaction, so I'm excited.
Awesome. It was nice for me to get out too. I grabbed my bike and I was on it, man. Rolling around town. It was funny, and hitting the bike path. So that makes a big difference, and you're able to get out and move around and stuff, man. That's super awesome. So yeah, PJ, why don't you help us kind of take us into it? We had a really good conversation yesterday, and also within the Rethink Everything group, it's like, what do we want to talk about as we begin to come back? And just so you guys know, to give it a kind of a setup, is that we were at Chris's house during our end of the quarter meeting and figuring out what we wanted to do for the second quarter and our planning, and it was really empowering and impactful, and really expressing our gratitude for each other and what we brought to the table to this particular vision that we're doing and why we're doing it and what Reset is all about, and just kind of rededicating ourselves to that, and also our partnership. And so I think starting off here, we wanted to really begin a discussion about, like, we have this social community now that we're building, and really start engaging, what is community? How do we want to engage the community overall? So I'll kind of let PJ kind of pivot and talk about some of the things we're going to do, kind of the setup for today's show, which I think is super awesome. Definitely, we want it to be interactive, and I'll just turn over to you, man.
Cool. So yeah, I just noticed something with my mic, so sorry about being distracted for a sec there. But I think what you said was great. We were talking about the second quarter and where we wanted to go with the live show and what's worked well. And we're, as John said, we were sharing a lot of gratitude from one another and also the group. And I don't know if you guys know, but the Rethink Everything group is about, I think, how many people? Oh, it's over 300, right?
Yeah, about 330, I think.
So we were pumped up about everybody that's participated and been involved, and many of you who are tuning in have been, a big part of that. So we had this idea to, how do we take the community and the group to the next level, and how do we, empower engagement and kind of collaboration within the group, and that was the intention and kind of the inspiration for this episode today. So. Yeah. What are you laughing at, John?
I'm just laughing at Chris chugging this big old blender of stuff on the show, man. I don't know what,
I'm thirsty.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's cool. I guess we can talk a little bit about, like, after we had that meeting about community and stuff, and really what it is and how we wanted to engage our social community moving forward. And really make this community valuable to the community itself. You began to write something up to really kind of, get this conversation started. And then I think it moved into a lot of different comments and reactions, So what were some of the things that kind of stood out, to you, or just in the process or whatever? Anyone?
Well, one of the things, based on what was written up and what we experienced, I think the most impactful response that we got back, I really resonate with as well, and it's this idea of the
we experienced.
What the hell? And it's this idea of the favor economy, doing favors for each other just because, being in support of, being aligned with and wanting to support each other for whatever it is that you do or I believe in or you believe in, because I know that if I do that, I'm not only going to make you better and your life better, but in turn, we're all going to be happier anyway. So it alludes to this bigger purpose that we've had as a consistent theme here on the show. And the guy who put that comment, Ken Kaplan, he was actually on the show, said that they do this just in Mexico. This is just a thing. They have this tight-knit community in Mexico, and it's incredibly different here in the U.S. So that was something big that jumped out at me.
Yeah, I liked it. He said that it wasn't the quid pro quo. It wasn't I do you a favor, you do me a favor. It was what he said was, which I really liked, and I agree with you, it really resonated with me too, was the fact that they do it because it's good for the community. Mm-hmm. That's like so cool, you know. I was like, that's how we should be. I think something about capitalism and the kind of capitalism that we have, it is that quid pro quo, you do something for me, I do something for you. But it's definitely something when you look outside of Western, you know, economics, and when you move to other areas, I think this is more true. You know, if you do something for someone, it's not just to help you out, it's also about helping the overall community. And I love that whole idea of a favor economy, but not the fact that it needs to be reciprocated. It's just you do it because it's good for the whole. And I love that concept.
Yeah. What do you guys think, Devin and PJ?
Yeah, that I'm doing something for the group and for the whole. I totally agree. It's kind of where we're struggling right now as a society. I think we've created this dynamic where, you know, save yourself kind of happens more of the time, but it's not just save yourself. It's like put yourself above everything else. So you've got, you know, whether it's the oligarchical society kind of aspect where these people that are, you know, billionaires and mega billionaires are still not doing probably arguably enough for the rest of us. And they've created systems and continue to create, you know, influence lawmakers and whatnot to create systems so they can continue to win in really excessive amounts. And that's created this strange dichotomy between the rich and the poor. So I think it's a really important aspect to talk about.
I would definitely agree.
And I like that you brought up the rich and the poor, because even the rich and the poor, in whatever capacity you view them in, they have their own communities as well. Like there's the neighborhood level community, and then there's, you know, the block that you live on, maybe even the apartment complex that you live on. And so there's this idea of having it be small communities that make up a bigger community, and what that relationship is and what it represents and how people band together in that way. And then how that separates, you know, like you mentioned, the rich and the poor. And at the same time, they're still part of the bigger community of the world even. So it's interesting to think of all those connections.
Yeah, because there's decisions and things that they do that impact others. You know, it's not like isolated. It's one of those things where you have to look at, like, if I'm a part of the 1%, what am I doing? How am I using what I have to help others or impact others positively or negatively? I think that's but like, PJ, did you get any pretty interesting responses and stuff?
Yeah, there was a lot of good responses. I'm listening to you guys, and I'm kind of wading through and kind of building my own frame to this conversation. And thinking about this yesterday, I put down a few ideas and notes, and one thing I wrote, let's see here. You know, I think a successful community is a community where, like, each individual feels accepted and also empowered to contribute towards, like, the betterment of the community and themselves. That's just kind of like that was kind of my basic definition that I was working with. But then I started to think about it more because in the community that we're talking about, the Rethink Everything group, it's an online, largely remote, although we do have events and things like that people can participate in person. Largely like it's done digitally. And I was starting to think about a community in the context of like Maslow's hierarchy and how the community is probably like one of the best inventions like humankind has ever come up with, like to take care of basic needs like safety and health, and then like psychological needs like belongingness and relationships and self-esteem. And then at the top of Maslow's hierarchy, you have like self-fulfillment. And I feel like what we're doing with the Rethink Everything group is really heavy on like psychological needs and self-fulfillment needs. Because generally speaking, if you have internet and you're engaging with our group, like your basic safety concerns and shelter and health and those things are taken care of. So that was kind of like the frame that I was coming up with for myself to come into this conversation. I wonder how that resonates with you guys.
Interesting.
Yeah, I do like that. And I like the fact that you said it's one of the best inventions that we've had. I think that's like right on the money. And taking care of each other or creating some type of social structure that looked out for the whole. And I think that's really cool.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely. Simon Sinek talks about certain things too, talks about culture and like, having our community and having what is called a certain set of values and beliefs. But then also the community can have an intention or a vision or something, because there's something that has to drive the actual community itself.
Yeah.
Like, what drives the community? Like, why do people want to get together? And I mean, when you look at social communities, it could be, I was listening to one of the YouTube videos after we were looking at some of this stuff, and this guy was talking about social communities online and what makes a successful one. And he was talking about like, he's a vegan, so he would go to social communities to figure out great places to go eat where he was a vegan, and started meeting more other vegans within that community on the social community. Or, you have communities within the physical structure, where you have communities who take care of themselves or work in co-ops and things of that nature. So, but it's always, to me, aligning with what is the intention, what is the vision of the community, and then people aligning themselves within that group based on a certain set of values and a certain set of beliefs. And I think that that's like really important.
Yeah, and I think from that you get like this consciousness support network. Like I was writing some things down about that, and it was I guess I'll just read it off. It was like we all have similar wants and needs, which I kind of already touched on. And then when we have our basic needs met, like we're able to switch off the survival, like reptilian mode of thinking, and we can pursue like higher states of consciousness and mindfulness. And when we do that, like there are certain things that we prioritize and focus our efforts and our time on. And those things are like our passions and our hobbies and what we like to try to, where we like to try to further ourselves. So I was thinking of a community as like this consciousness support network where like we help, we coexist and we co-create these communities to help share and perpetuate and evolve like these shared interests and passions, so that we can kind of return to them again and walk further into the actuality of like what we envisioned was possible. So that's why, like, I guess that loops nicely with your idea of a vision.
Yeah,
for a community.
It definitely does. And I was just going to get into this whole ideal of what I think the glue that actually holds the community together is not just about the set of values and beliefs, is what you really chimed in on, was the passion part of it. Because if that community is a reflection of what is your passion, and that is continually, as you were saying, then I like this conscious community network, because then that's when consciousness begins to become raised. We begin to move to different levels, and we begin to connect stronger. You have more intimate relationships, and I think that's a very powerful aspect of the possibilities of what humankind can do. Like you said, in terms of a great invention. But how do we move this further? Like this conscious community network, Rethink Everything. Is that even does that even resonate with people? You know what I mean? Or is it Team Reset? Or what other responses did we get in the actual group about what they believe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
I can read off one of those. And it's from a guy who has a pretty large community himself. He's the leader of one of the big podcasting groups out there that I'm a part of, and his name's Anthony Hayes. I think he's watching right now, actually. Yeah, and he said, like anything else in life, you start with a solid foundation and morals. I would have to say energy and chemistry comes next. Lastly, evolution. The core can remain the same, but you have to stay innovative and fresh to keep the momentum going. And that was something that really called out to me because he has done that. He's built that group, and he constantly evolves it. And I've seen it evolve over the past 2 years. So, that was a big part.
Yeah, I think that's a good response because like a lot of organizational communities, I think of some older ones that are out there like NAACP or things like that I would be resonating with. Hasn't really changed much. There hasn't been much innovation, so the actual organization, even though it's still around, it's not evolving, and I think this whole ideal of innovation and it being continually to be evolved, because I think what PJ was saying and chiming in on the fact that like having a conscious community network is really about that. I mean, you have to evolve to stay conscious, and to stay community and to stay networked. So I find that very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Thanks, man. I think if we go back to our original purpose too, the original reason that we created Reset, that's just reflected all the way through what we're doing now. We don't want to do anything without involving and including the community. And in fact, in our earlier creative sessions and brainstorming sessions, we realized that there's a lot of these pockets of communities that don't talk to one another and that don't communicate beyond the, metaphorically speaking, beyond the apartment that they live in. And to be able to bring that together under a unified purpose like what you're talking about, John, is it could be revolutionary. And so we want to know from you guys that are watching what you see and what you want to happen as well.
Yeah, and I see some support in the group from the live stream from Gail. Without a dream, there's no change. So that's that echoes, I think, a lot of what was just said.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think I would like to just keep going through some of the responses we got in our group because a lot of it was really brilliant stuff. Kyle Lipton, who is an awesome kind of entrepreneur / social media guru, community advocate. He was in our group and he's helped out with a lot of the Rethink Everything group development. And he said that authentic and open sharing and having a community that will support and hold the space for it. And coupled that with like amazing intentions and following through on those intentions. I thought that was definitely a big part of what we're trying to do. I know that.
Yeah, those seem to be the best groups that I've personally been involved with. Those that like kind of set those big ambitions, whether it's a business or it could be an NGO or just general, school group, even the ones that create these awesome visions for, what you want to do in the community and take action to create that reality. Like my mom, Gail, said, without the dream, there is no change. And also without action, there is no change. A lot of the drum that I've been saying recently is knowledge isn't power, it's potential, and action is actual power. And I think it's applies to a group as well. If you don't actually take action as a group to make the change that you say you want, then the group is fairly, inept. And there's so much potential out there with these new technologies and with, these processes that we can implement the things that people that are across the world have learned about. I know. Huh?
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Commenting on Chris drinking, I'm like,
I'm almost done.
He's got like a massive blender.
I was like, what?
It's
I mean,
a
it's so
smoothie.
distracting because when someone's talking, you got this big old thing of glass. Chugging in the window, man.
That's funny.
Oh man.
Great thought is coming through, and I'm just like, I can't do it. So could you just not do it anymore?
Yeah. Anyway, that was pretty much the end. I do see this. Kurt Robinson commented, "What about the coherent economic messaging coming left, but directed to the middle?" And I would love to see him kind of expand on that, like Chris said or prompted, and PJ. So that's an interesting topic. But I think Yuli, if you could bring up that, if you're in that thread, had something awesome to say about the group in Germany that she was just visiting. And that might be relevant to what I was just talking about.
I can, you want me to read that one off?
Yeah, if you are right on it, yeah. Or I can find it.
Yeah. So Yuli said, and this is right in the Rethink Everything group thread about what makes a successful community. I think what makes them and any community successful is that they are focused on working the relationships and communication. They spend focused time together every few months using a community building process that creates a shared inner space, and that complements and nourishes all their very successful outer endeavors like farming, holding seminars, building an earth ship, etc. I want to learn more about the earth ship. Learning to listen and finding structures to support that learning helps everyone find a more authentic voice and contribution. There's an X factor in that kind of work. Like you're saying, the whole is really larger than the sum of its parts, while everyone is freed up to be themselves. And I'm looking forward to what you guys will discover on the show.
Wow, that's cool. I love this whole thing. Everybody's coming back to these shared values and being authentic and genuine, and a space where people can be themselves. And then having that opportunity or that space being created also spawns creativity, and connection. And when she was talking about Earthships, that community is in, I think, Tucson, Arizona, where they build these amazing houses, out of all recycled materials, and they call them Earthships.
No way.
Yeah, and so, a part of that community too. And the other part that I liked was the fact that there was always an empowerment or education aspect that she was saying in terms of, giving the community, information or providing valuable information to that community.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say more, actually.
Yeah, I just kind of stopped. But yeah, I mean, I could have went on.
Hey, just for you. Wait, whoa, we're at a pause. Hang on.
Yeah, I just okay.
He's getting encouragement from his wife to keep drinking out of that blender.
Yeah. So when I do a pause,
we see you, Ren.
You can drink. But yeah,
she made a really good point, though. She said what's bioavailable in Aereos has a lot to do with the community attitudes, vibrancy, and health that the members express. So we've been talking a lot about what creates the community in terms of the values that they share, but what a community creates is also a really cool theme to explore.
Yes. Which is why I was saying, delving into this idea of creativity. And I think in our last, actually, when we were talking about this, Chris, you actually brought that up about how community really spawns and creates creativity and how it feeds creativity. And I think that's like, and if people don't know who we are as a company, we kind of start off as a creative, conscious company at first, and then move to Reset, where it's more action. But this whole ideal of creativity has been something we've been really pushing, and we think it's a part of people's freedom and movement forward. So connecting with people and then being able to collaborate, is a very powerful thing, and to create something out of nothing, and that also builds community in itself. And people can build community around that or that idea, or creating from that vision. And I think that's what you were talking about as well.
Yeah, and in my head, I keep going back to an idea that my friend Drew, who I just tagged in the comments, brought up a couple of years ago. And without going too deep, he was really trying to unify two communities in order to empower creativity both ways. So I think a cool way to think about community too is not just the shared values that make up one community or another community, but how they can begin to cross-pollinate, cross-connect, and contribute to a bigger community, really with the same vision and the same values, just coming at it from a slightly different way. And I think through that, we can really build something that I don't think this country has seen for a while, which is prosperity. And in my opinion, that's just this idea of everybody fulfilling what it is that they're here to do rather than just some.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's really good. I mean, because that's how it should be. I mean, and I think this whole thing about Devin, and Devin, I think, was tapping into this in terms of the technology and the processes that are being created in the information age, is allowing us to think more abundantly so we can move to have the better ability to be able to cross-pollinate, because now it's more possible. We're not locked into our own silos. We're seeing a much bigger world. We're seeing a whole universe, you know, that is completely abundant. So, you know, and I don't know about you, but like, since we've been doing this, we've been running into a lot of organizations that are on the similar path and are out there trying to raise consciousness. And what's happening is that we're also connecting with them and beginning to figure out how to collaborate and how to support one another. And just like you said, Chris, you know, cross-pollinate in these communities. And that's the most powerful thing. I like the fact that Devin really talked about, you know, what's happening now in terms of technology and processes that is even making that more possible and a lot easier.
Yeah, and it's only going to get unbelievably more, you know, possible and probable as you get into like what Jay's working on with the Economic Space Agency and some of those, like, you know, people talking about holding space where, you know, for the community to grow and for people to, you know, fulfill their potential. And they're creating kind of something similar to where people can hold an economic space and in abundance, where you can just create, you know, been a limited set of economic space, and he would have a lot more to say on like what that actually means. And we can share some articles based on that. I think the Medium article that you shared, PJ, is like right on the money as far as this conversation and like what it actually means to hold economic space and what that means for a community. Like how can you leverage that to achieve those communal goals, is another tool in the technological toolbox that we have. So yeah, it would be really cool.
Yeah, I agree, man. And I think communities are beginning to come back because of a lack of what's not happening in our government or business or whatever. So people are beginning to want to take control of their own destiny. So they're aligning themselves with people who have similar visions and values and beliefs. And now you can do it even quicker and faster just based on the technology. And I think that's really cool. And you can use the technology to empower the community. You know, and this is where efforts, you know, like you talked about the economic space, this cryptocurrency kind of thing, you know, and, you know, these different platforms that allow you to empower your community, I think is super cool.
Anthony just commented, Anthony Hayes, the guy we were talking about earlier, and this is really big, I think. A community becomes what its members create it to be.
Yeah, I'm glad that you commented on that because I wanted to also address that. What's up?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, well, first of all, I love his answer. And I had a similar thought that wasn't as simplest, like as well said in few words, but it was basically like, it's kind of hard to define what a successful community is because communities are dynamic and like, you know, to properly like say this is what a static definition is for a successful community. I'm like, I think you kind of have to crowdsource the vision of the community with the community members so that you can build that clear representation of what we're all working towards and trying to build together. And so that's why I was just really impressed with his comment. I resonated with that. I think that's a good transition for us too, to kind of talk a bit more about the specifics of the Rethink Everything group and where we're headed with it. What some of our plans are over the next couple months in the second quarter. As John said earlier, we just had a big first quarter review, and looking forward to the next couple months, and also to hear other people that are in the chat with us live. I'd love to know what you've gotten out of the Rethink Everything group so far and what you'd like to see more of. That's I think that's a good direction to take this conversation.
I agree with that. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things, just to kind of kick it off, I know one of the things, guys and girls and ladies, that we've been talking about is we'd like to do a Member Monday, or featuring members of the group and actually bringing them in on live calls to share what they're working on and what some of their challenges are, and also what some of their successes are. And I just going through the group yesterday and engaging people on this conversation about community, I was like blown away by like some of the friends, just the friends that I have, and we all have such a diverse group of friends in this group already. But I had my buddy Mike Bloomberg, who just ran like a very successful kind of local movement in politics, and I had we have Ben Miller, who's doing some amazing things with like community building for similar to us, kind of socially conscious consumers. And Devin's friend, and I think he was a fraternity brother, Steven, had some awesome things to say that we didn't actually get to touch on yet. So it was just like crazy impressive, and the people that we have in this group. So we want to bring that forward more, and let people really share their successes, as well as what do they need help with.
Yeah, I think we should also maybe set some kind of intention or vision for the group, something where people can kind of galvanize around. But I love the Member Monday thing. I think that's one good thing, because I think that is allowing members to talk about what they're doing and featuring and then highlighting them and just appreciating them for the work that they're doing, and a lot of people don't do that, and I tell people all the time, and to quote Oprah Winfrey, which I usually don't, but that's my girl. So, but there's another thing that everybody wants to be affirmed or validated in some way, and that's like really important. And I think it's important to really recognize, members and the work that they're doing, and also sharing that with the rest of the community so they can engage with them, and I think that's a very powerful step for us.
Yeah.
Any other ideas that we decided to come up with, or?
We can get into more specifics. I know, in addition to the Member Mondays, we'll probably be launching another show sooner than later, about another topic, and continuing to increase the engagement with the group to see what they're doing for the launch of the magazine, which is our next big project, which we're all, really excited about, and finding people that are doing things in the community so we can help promote, these cool ideas and these cool action takers that are already in the group. Is just it's an amazing opportunity for us, and hopefully for you guys. So that's like the other big chunk in my mind.
Yeah. I also think that it would be good, for the community, or for us as well, to make ourselves available to the community in terms of if they need help with any of their businesses or their conscious enterprises. I think it's good to maybe sit with us, talk with us, or how do we empower each other to continue to do the work that we're doing. And a group that I think is very supportive in that way, and that if you need help with any of us, if you need anything, or be there for you, if we can have any references or any kind of recommendations, to help, you out within the community. I think that's something we definitely want to push for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We'll keep the positive news coming too. I remember Noah was saying that it was one of the few groups that he could go to after listening to all the negative stuff. I think, continuing to spark and curate good news
Yeah.
our future, I think, is super empowering.
Yeah.
And
Dr. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
You got me excited because Dr. Ren, Chris's fiance, she said something that I think is awesome. And she said, it's the best of times and the worst of times at the same time in these different areas: technology, health, environment, finance, and it all comes down to perspective. And she says, I feel like Reset helps create a creative awareness and a connection needed for communities to realize or take a positive stance. So that's to hear that echoed back, for all the efforts and also the co-collective efforts of everybody in the group. That's something that I'm honored to be a part of.
Definitely. And that's really cool. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, because that's really what we're aiming to do. And I think we're clarifying that even more. But yeah, and that there's options out there for you to take a positive stance. And there's people out there who are doing it every day, and you're not alone. That's the other thing. Oh, I forgot. Remember we talked about this in our meeting. We were talking about the fact that one of the things I like about community is that you don't have to do it by yourself. You're not out there trying to do it by yourself. And that's such an empowering feeling to be able to have like minds and people who are really supportive. Like, how many of us, we don't feel like that we're being supported, and I found that that's incredibly important. So, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to open up this whole idea of, with the community, talking to us about your business. I mean, we all have expertise and we're all very creative. So how can we better support you and your vision in terms of what you're doing? I really like that. Any other ideas or good suggestions, or did we come up with, Chris?
We had one post that was about 27 pictures. That was pretty interesting. But the most...
What? You lost me.
He's talking about the emojis.
Yeah. But the most recent one, Shefik says, a functioning community needs dialogue from various points of view. So what I take out of that is that you need people that are willing to challenge you and others in the community in order to elevate the overall consciousness of it.
Yeah, I think it's groupthink is obviously an unbelievably powerful thing to, and it's easy to see how some communities and some people get into situations that they don't think that they would ever get into by themselves based on who is surrounding them. I mean, everybody has stories of friends that in high school, oh, they were a good kid and they fell into the wrong crowd. And now, they're robbing convenience stores and stuff like that. And it's like, what the heck just happened? And, it's the community that they surround themselves in. So I think it takes a strong will and an even stronger community to put up with somebody that's like, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe we shouldn't be, whatever the possibly negative thing is. If you have a different opinion, being able to, going back to the idea of holding space, being able to hold space for somebody to have a different opinion and not be like, well, you're out of the group, like done. Yeah. That's a really interesting problem to have, and challenge that we're going to face as we grow as a community. And other people, I'm sure, have faced that in their community building. Hopefully we can, try to work through this with the community, because I think we all have the same intention. We all have that same challenge and desire to overcome that challenge. And like Anthony Hayes just said, accountability partners are very beneficial, so right on the money.
Yeah,
having
that is definitely true. because you can get in your own head and it could be your own echo chamber, and and it's just you're not growing. And I think that's one of the reasons why, like, when you have these individuals who when you disagree, or when people are in disagreement, or with a part of you, one of the things that I wanted to do with Reset, and as we talked, and as I think we all agree, is start with your story. Because if you have a different set of experiences, that does create different set of values and beliefs, or different ways or strategies that you do something. So when people are, I hope as a group that we continue to engage people and find out about who they are when they disagree with us, and why, because that is very important, to the growth of not only us, because it might be a whole new perspective that we hadn't even thought about before, and but if we know the story, then we understand where that perspective is coming from, and that builds compassion. You understand?
Yeah,
understanding,
absolutely,
empathy. So then, because I feel like we're at this point, we're in a situation in our government and politics and news where everybody's saying, okay, I'm on the left, you're on the right, and then we take our stances, and then we begin to name call. There's no reason. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? It's like there's
absolutely
no connection, and there's no community building, and we don't understand anyone's story, and why they came up with that. And because if we connected with the story, then that builds some understanding. I'm not talking about the drama of the story. I'm talking about the whole story, then that builds the connection and empathy and then compassion. And then to me, that's where you can work from. That is where you have space to really, move something or connect or be able to create some kind of change, So anyway, that's just me going on my little.
There's
No, it makes a lot of sense.
That's a really, like, everything you were just saying, though. I'm going to do the quote of the day a little early. The Dalai Lama says, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. So exactly what you're talking about. Compassion is going to allow you to see the other point of view that the ego may be keeping you from.
Well, that's cool. I think that we need to continue to engage this community. And I think for me, I really want to set a vision and intention, and then along with the people who are here, and what they know about Reset. And I don't know if we even got into that. I think some people know, some people don't, So, and what the Rethink Everything group is about, and so I think that there's a point where we need to come back with that and maybe, share that with the group, and then say, hey, what do you want to see out of this? Because he's right, Anthony Hayes right. The community is as good as its members. It is the members, of that community. And we definitely want to hear from them, because that's going to help us do the work that we need to do so much better and be so much more impactful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything you guys got or want to move forward with?
No, I think that, I feel like we've kind of gone through the gamut of the conversation here. We're at 2:00, and
cool.
I would just be interested, like you said, in continuing this conversation, and hopefully having some people, voice some strong opinions in the conversation thread, and let's make an awesome freaking community, and help others that are in the group to continue to create their own.
I almost think we need to revisit this conversation, if not every month, every quarter,
that'd be cool.
I think that's a good move for us as a company and as a social community, to make sure that we're moving in the space, of continually growing the community, and the community's growing from what we're doing, and we're growing from them. So I think that's really important.
Absolutely. Cool. Absolutely. And just to recap for the people that are still on with us, or if you just joined, we're talking about community, and we mentioned earlier something that's coming up. PJ, do you want to go over Member Mondays one more time? I think that's really important for our members to know about and participate in.
Yeah, there'll be more information in the Facebook group, in the Rethink Everything group. But basically, we want to start bringing on some of the members in the group to have a quick chat, for 15 or 20 minutes and talk about, what they're working on, because everybody in the group is doing something creative or something interesting or something important. And we want to highlight that. And we also, as John had said, we want to understand where you need help, in your conscious business or, whatever you're doing that relates to this vision that we are building for the community. So we want that to just serve as an engagement and discussion tool, as we said earlier, to kind of create that consciousness support network that this can be.
Yeah, I think that's super awesome. And we might want to announce a couple of things just so you guys know. We have some really cool stuff coming up. I know were you ready to say something, Chris?
No.
We have some really cool stuff coming up, so stay tuned. We got a whole slate of new guests for the Reset Live show that's going to be super awesome and great. You guys are going to love that. And we'll make that announcement really soon. So you'll see we have the digital magazine coming up, which is going to be our first edition, Overgrow Government. So we'll probably end up doing a show on just that part of it. And shout out to Scott, who put together our amazing media kit. We got to put it up online somewhere so people can see it because it's banging. I'm so happy about that. And the other part is for us, and if you're interested, for us to help us when we need your support. So we launched our own Patreon page where you could donate to the show and support us in continuing to do the work that we do. And I guess you can get all the information where.
Patreon, it's patreon.com/resetlive, but we'll definitely have more information on that, and we'll send out a blast in the Facebook group and also in the newsletter. So yeah, that's kind of the announcement of it, and we'll have much more coming.
Awesome. Anything I missed, you guys? Y'all want to say anything or close it out? Or?
No, for me, I just want to thank everyone. I want to thank you guys. I think that this was a sweet session. This is a great talk. I know I learned a lot from engaging on this topic, and it's something that's very near and dear to me. And I think everybody, I think the four of us, and I also think everybody that's really joined our group and resonated with it, that could be said for them as well. And I look forward to the next. I like John's suggestion to come back with a vision and continue to discuss that and evolve that with the members of the group. So I think that's a great outcome that we earned from this talk.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think doing it organically, like announcement, and just having the talk and the chat, just like this, and doing it more often, I think it's super powerful, and I think it'll definitely refine the group and build a lot more closer relationships and intimacy with everyone. So I'm really excited about this part, of our company and really pushing that forward, because I feel like it's one of the most important parts of what we're doing.
I absolutely agree.
All right. Well, great job, fellas.
Yeah. Thank you guys. And thank you everybody who's watching and everybody who participated in the conversation. You guys are critical to building this community that we're talking about, and we couldn't have done it without you.
Absolutely.
Muchos gratitude, and until next week, thanks for joining us on the Reset Live show.
You got to.
You like that? Oh yes, that's the kind of thing.
see myself as someone that would want to be a politician. So it's just a venue that I'm using to gain more knowledge about that system, but to help those that don't know about that system. In high school, I got involved with the Mayor's Menino Youth Council. I was a Dorchester representative, and that was the first time that I had to like represent a community. In Boston Public Schools, definitely like it's hard for us Cape Verdeans to succeed out there because they want to shut down a lot of the programs that help us as students that English is our second language. The system is kind of like, hey, we just want to get the students to graduate. Forget if they're going to go to college or not, but we need our numbers to look that we're graduating a lot of students. One of the things that I woke up to when I came to UMass, we're not the face that they're talking about doing orientation. You know what I mean? They talk about it, but they're not showing the real stuff. So to me, it was just like, hey, we're actually here, and we're the reason that you have this diversity, but you're not giving me the resources that I need to show my Cape Verdean culture throughout campus. And people think, oh, there's no more racism. Yes, there is. People need to start educating themselves regardless if you were affected by it, regardless if you're black or not. Like, that's a national and international problem. Like, you don't have to be directly affected by it. You don't have to be black. You have to be citizens of the world. Second chance. Reset means second chance to me. That's my sentence. Second chance.